Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum CSPro users. Tutorial on array statement. This is the first in a series of tutorials on how to use the arrays. In this tutorial, we will learn about the array statement, why it is necessary, and how to use it in our logic. The array statement generates an array with a collection of elements of the same type. Array can be numeric, alphanumeric, or a string. By default, an array is numeric, but the type can be modified by specifying the array type. With the old alpha type, you had to specify the length. However, the string should always be used instead of alpha. An array must have at least one dimension. CSPro supports array of an unlimited number of dimensions. We will discuss this in detail in a while. Let's look at why we need an array before we use it in our logic. For example, we need to store 5 students' names. For this, what do we need to do? Create 5 dummy string variables, student1 to student5, and store the student's name in these variables. You can do it in just 2 to 3 minutes. But if I said that enter 50 students' name, then what will you do? It will be very tedious to create 50 variables to store these names. To avoid this, we used arrays. In our example, we only need a one-dimensional string or alpha array to store the name. Only one array at a time can be declared with the array statement. The array name must be unique and must contain only letters, numbers, or the underscore character. The name must begin with a letter. You can declare arrays in proc global or locally in functions or procedures. If the array type is not specified, an array is assumed to be numeric. Let's look at an example of creating an array to store the names of 5 students. Create a string array with a length of 5 instead of 5 string variables. Begin with an array statement, then specify the array type as a string and the array name as student name. You can give any name. We want to store the names of 5 students, so put 5 in the brackets and a semicolon after the bracket. A size of 5 means you will be making 5 rows. To make it easy, I am creating a diagram as vertical to show rows. Each row has its own index number, which always begins with 0. We are storing name Aslam at index number 0 on row number 1, Khalid at index number 1 on row 2, and so on. When we want to display the name of a specific index number, we will refer to these index numbers. To make things clear, I will use an index number in the error message function to display the name. In the message, we will use the array name with the index number as an argument. On the first line, the name Peter will be displayed because we are using index number 4 with array name. On the second line, the name Khalid will be displayed because we are using index number 1. So far, we have only talked about a one-dimensional array. We will now discuss two-dimensional arrays. A two-dimensional array is similar to one-dimensional array in that it has rows and columns, but it can be represented as grid or table. For example, we also want to store the address of each student. One method is to write the address and the name in one-dimensional array. You can do it, but it is inconvenient when you only want to show your name or address. A two-dimensional array is another method that will be more effective. The first number of elements in the two-dimensional array represents the number of rows, and the second number of elements represents the number of columns. 5 indicates that we can enter up to 5 students, and 2 indicates that we have two columns, one for name and one for address. Let's illustrate this with a diagram. As I previously stated, each row has its own index number, and in the case of a two-dimensional array, each row and column also has its own index number. These are row index numbers and these are column index numbers. When we look at it visually, 00 indicates that we are in the first row and column. 01 means the first row and second column. In this case, 10 represent the second row and first column. When you are here, read as follows: second row, second column. Look at another diagram to see how the data will be stored in the array. The name Aslam will be saved in the first row and column at the index number 00. The address will be saved in the first row and second column at the index number 01. As a result, the remaining information about your student will be entered. However, the index number for each information will be unique. Look at the syntax in the CSPro. Declare an array in the proc global and save the data in the preproc at the level procedure. When you want to display the data, you will use the same index number that you used to save it. I hope this tutorial helps you build a strong application logically. Please see the CSPro help for more information. Keep on learning and goodbye.